I'm going to explain to you what is involved in the construction of a type of classical weapon called a manriki gusari. This is a type of weapon that consists of a chain and weights on both ends. So first I'll show you one that I have. This is one that is actually made in a factory. So this is not the one that I'm going to construct. I'm going to make my own version. And so you see here that there is, of course, the chain. It's a very short, it's not very useful as a weapon. There are other more convenient weapons. The main reason people even use them is that they are very compact. This is used in a number of different ways. The weights on the end are typically made of a solid piece of steel. So you can bash someone in the head with that and it hurts pretty badly. Generally it's not lethal, but it can fracture some bones. You can smash someone's teeth out, or the most lethal component actually is the chain, because you can wrap this around someone's neck and choke them with it. This chain is also used for wrapping around the wrist of somebody, and you can then control their arm that way. You can also trip someone with this if you put it around their ankle and toe. Okay? Alright, so this is a very simple weapon in design, and I'm sure you could probably figure out how to build your own. What I'm going to focus on is more the selection of the parts, because there are a number of considerations involved in that. Okay? So first is the kind of chain that you want to use for this. Okay? Now, this is the chain that I initially selected to make one of these units, and I also have another chain which has larger links, as you can see. Okay? Now, the ones with the smaller links, like this, are useful for a number of reasons. One is that it's much more compact, so it takes less space. You can store it in a pocket more easily than the other thing I just showed you. This also has some other advantages in that you can make use of friction. So, for example, if you swing it around someone's wrist or around someone's neck, you can get a bit of a lock on without actually physically wrapping around it. You can just swing one end and it will coil itself around, and you can get a bit of a lock on that. In fact, you could even file the sides of this chain and give it a bit of friction so that when you then pull on it, it will actually saw through flesh. Okay? That's not the classical way of using it, but that's an adaptation that you can make for it. Okay? You can do that much better with the smaller chain. Now, one of the advantages of the larger chain, of course, is that it has much greater strength. Okay? I got this chain at Home Depot, and this is rated at over 300 pounds. This is the actual packaging that I got on. So as you can see, it's a welded chain that is zinc plated, and this says it's rated for 340-pound load. So in actuality, it's probably able to sustain much more than that, maybe 2 or even 3 times greater amount of weight than that before it will snap. Okay, so this can take any kind of force that you will encounter in combat. You can block a sword with this. You can block a baseball bat. Now, this is not the type of weapon that I would recommend using for hard blocks. It's probably better to do a soft block in which you yield a little bit. But you can, with this type of chain, it's not going to break. Okay. This can sustain any force that a normal human is able to exert. But this smaller chain that I got, and this is part of why I have a video here to explain to you where I got it. This chain is actually from a dog leash. Okay. So I had to file through that and extract this, right? And of course there was one of these things on the other end. And these are structures I do not want to have on there. Okay? Now, of course, the ring here and this thing could hook onto the weights that are on the end of the manriki, but it's asymmetrical, okay? And that's a problem. The size and weight of this is different from the size and weight of this. Okay? And if your weapon is not symmetrical, then it's harder to adjust. Okay? Ideally, there should be some uniformity, so you switch from left side to right side of the weapon. It handles exactly the same way. Okay? Okay. All right. So the actual assembly involves then joining the weights to the chain. Okay? And there are a number of ways of doing that. If you're using a small chain, probably the easiest way is with something like this, which is the ring that's generally used for holding keys. Okay? If you are concerned about the strength of this, you might want to double it so that you're using a double setup. You use two of them, so as you can see here, right? Just loop it around and put it on the chain. If you absolutely insist on having a very strong weapon, then I would recommend using something like this. This is a quick link. It is rated at 220 pounds. Now, as for the weights, there are several considerations. One is the shape of it. Okay. Now, here the mass-produced one that I showed you earlier has some grooves in it, and edges really hurt when you hit someone with it. So there's an advantage there. Okay. What I'm going to show you though is something completely smooth, a sphere. Okay? This will probably not be able to kill anybody, okay? Which is part of why I'm showing it to you, because if I get in trouble for teaching how to make weapons, I can show you one that's not lethal. Okay? But the same principle applies with anything else. So, you might be wondering where I got this. This is actually a knob for like a drawer. I got this from Home Depot. This is the knob hill, and so this is just for like a dresser drawer or something like that, right? And it comes with a screw and a hole, so you can put a screw to that. But I'm not going to use a screw, because if I just put a regular screw to that, it's not going to join up with the chain very nicely. Okay? But the problem is you could use a regular screw to fasten a chain, but I'll show you with the larger links the fundamental problem that the first link is going to have to be positioned differently from the rest of the links, because when you swing the chain around, the centripetal force makes it similar to like hanging. So all the links will follow the same direction, but the last one is going to be like this if you screw it on by putting a screw through the hole in the chain. Okay? So the asymmetry involved in that is going to make your movements a little bit less precise, and it's going to wobble in a way that is not ideal. It messes up the handling of the weapon. So instead, what I'm going to do is use this. This is an eye hook. It's a threaded eye hook, so I screw this in, and it gives me this little hole here that I can use to join to the rest of the chain. Okay? And I join it to the rest of the chain using the quick link. Okay? So very simply, what I do is I found an eye hook that has the exact same type of threading that this knob uses. But just for general safety, I recommend twisting it a little bit every time you put this into use, so that you know for sure that it is tight. Okay? Alright, so the actual assembly of this is really very simple. Okay? So we take a chain and take one of these quick links and open it up, put one end through there, and put this, so then we turn it over and just put this hole through, and we close it up, and that's it. You do the same thing on both sides, and you have a finished weapon.